Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another Hot Toys 1/6 scale Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse figure unboxing and review. Today, we're taking a look at Miles Morales. Now I got mine at a discount from Pop Collectibles. I've popped a link to their site in the description, along with the discount code Justin's Collection, for 5% off your order if you decide to buy from them. As always, do your own research, make sure you're comfortable before buying. While you're down in the description, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button, so you're notified as soon as brand new Across the Spider-Verse content goes live on the channel. It's a pretty sizable box actually. If I had to guess why the box is this large, because Miles himself is probably only about that big, the backdrop, I would imagine, but we will definitely find out. As for the box art, it's bright, it's colourful, it's fun. Like, there's colours absolutely everywhere. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse up top, Miles web swinging in the middle, the portals in the background with this metallic chrome effect in them, and his name down below. The chrome effect is so neat. Lights do bounce off the surface, like it's Glare City right now because of the studio lights, but in normal lighting, it looks really good. On the side of the box, one of the portals spilling over the edge from the front cover, a Miles Spider-Man symbol, and his name once more. There's also like a mix of finishes going on. We've got raised bits that are high gloss, such as the comic book dot pattern effect, then a more matte satin finish for the background, and the shiny metallics, but you already know about that. Around the back, warnings, legal information, and their store locations. Underneath the slipcover, this geometric shaped open window showcasing Miles and all of his accessories inside, with this dark red circuitry pattern around it. Makes it look a little bit more techy. I think that's what they were going for, more of the circuitry on the side of the box, as well as his name. Loving the figure photography back here, showcasing Miles in various dynamic poses, and the red spider symbol in the background. But the read up. Please, pause the video and read this. You might get a little chuckle out of it. Let me know in the comments how many typos and grammatical issues you spot, because I found quite a few. Look, it doesn't really affect anything that there's some typos on the back of the box, but it cheapens the vibe for me. I wish they checked their copy a couple more times before going ahead with it. First, in-hand impressions for Miles. Very skinny, quite lightweight, but definitely larger than the Into the Spider-Verse version. What we're going to do now is get all of his accessories laid out in the light box and take a closer look at everything he comes with. Almost everything he comes with is what I should have said. Because the backdrop, it's too large to fit in this frame with all of his other bits and pieces, so we'll come back to it. Starting off with his display base first, you can remove it from the portal, you don't have to use that if you don't want to. Hexagon base mold, glossy spider symbol, glossy Across the Spider-Verse logo, on a matte textured finish for the background. Miles Morales comic book looking font, flight pole up top, it's bendable and adjustable, and there's a spring-loaded waist clamp. But it's a small one, because Miles, as you already know from the unboxing segment, does have a pretty small frame. Then this thing. Is it a portal or is it trash? Because this is the cheapest, the nastiest, the hollowest of clamshell plastics. It weighs nothing. The detail on the inside is just printed on cardboard. You can see the rough edges, you can feel the rough edges, and the indentations where the bits of clamshell plastic snap together. I don't like it. Visually speaking, maybe it works from a distance, and when you pop the base in it, it's a nice snug fit, but I can't see myself ever using this portal in the collection. If it was sculpted plastic with some translucency to it and a light-up effect, then maybe I would have gone for it. Oh, they cheaped out hard with the webs. No web tornado, no spooled up swinging web, no bendy wire webs. We got them with Hono Studio Spidey, who's a lot cheaper than Miles is. They've given us the absolute basics. Not even the funnel web attachment that's meant to connect to these long ones, so what the heck are you supposed to use those for? No idea. two smaller ones, pegs on the end, then rounded tips. Then lastly, the right angle web, that's for web swinging poses. His multiverse traveling wristwatch bracelet is made out of PVC plastic, painted in silver with a pop of orange and metallic blue on it. I'll show you what he looks like wearing this a little bit later. This is new, not the cheap-ass translucent plastic they made it out of, but the fact that it attaches with magnets, not a clip around the base of his head sculpt. I am very curious to see what this looks like on him. Hands down, my favorite accessory of the bunch. It is oversized for a 1/6 scale comic, but the printing is really nice, and there's different artwork on each of the pages. Do I wish there was even more artwork and even more pages inside of it? Yeah, absolutely. But I'm not about to sit here and complain. This comic book is awesome. Just like Into the Spider-Verse Miles, Across the Spider-Verse Miles comes with multiple bits of clothing so you can have him displayed as civilian Miles versus full-on Spidey. All you need to know right now is there's a bunch of stuff for his upper torso, jeans, some unbranded Jordans, and this rubbery neck cover piece to make it look like he's got a skin tone neck underneath these bits of clothing. To go along with the civilian outfit, the unmasked Miles Morales head sculpt. This one, I believe, is an improvement over the last, and it's got moving eyes. Don't worry, I'll show you how it all works and what this looks like on the body. So this is a bit awkward. We're supposed to be looking at this head sculpt right now. But someone at the factory forgot to pop this head sculpt in the box. Instead, I ended up with two fully masked head sculpts. Not ideal. You can bet that we'll be discussing it in the pros and cons segment. When it comes to lenses, 3 sets in total. Smaller, more squinted ones, these are like traditional Spidey lenses. Much larger ones, like really large, and medium-sized lenses, already installed on the head sculpt right out of the box. They attach with magnets and a guiding pin. And lastly, some hands. These are ungloved hands meant to be used with the civilian look. They're quite blocky and geometric, but they've even painted the fingernails. That's a nice touch. For gloved hands, the metallic armor effect, that mirrors what's present on his actual suit. Love it. And there's the squiggly lines also done in a metallic finish. These ones are the wall crawling hands. Whipping hands, there's a gradient effect to the red paint applications on the inside of the hands. 2 different splayed out finger open palm hands. This one leans more relaxed versus the one on the right side. Web holding hands with the thumbs curled up. And 2 closed fists already installed on him right out of the box. What we're going to do now is move on to the backdrop. And Spot's limbs, because as you can see, they're currently attached to the backdrop with magnets. They give you these little disc magnets in the instruction packet, and you can put these limbs anywhere you want, really. You can move them around, top, bottom, no problem. It's a double-sided backdrop too. This is the artwork that's meant to be used with the Spot limbs according to the instructions. But on the other side, it's a lot more colorful, and we've got this almost fractured effect showing different worlds as part of the multiverse. The crease down the middle is quite ugly. Mine came warped out of the box, and the cardboard feels pretty flimsy for these side pieces. I'm hoping this backdrop stands the test of time. Spot's portals look pretty gross. The bubbly effect, the green color they've gone with, the shading. Then the limbs themselves, they're done in a chalky finish. They look blocky and geometric. And the splotches, they've got this speckled effect around the edge that makes them look very screen accurate to me. Seeing as though they're magnetic and removable, you could use these somewhere else in the collection if you wanted, and I think I might be doing that because, simply put, I don't have space for this backdrop. Now that we've discussed it, it's time to get Miles Morales himself out here. Standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses or accessories or anything like that. They tried a lot of new stuff with this Miles. Some of it hits, some of it not so much. But the question is, does he have the exaggerated swagger of a 1/6 scale animated Spidey? The answer, simply put, is yes, he does. The proportions look great, except for one thing which we'll discuss when we take him off the turntable. The outfit is simplified versus Into the Spider-Verse, but that's the way it's supposed to look. Up close and personal, kicking things off with Miles' masked head sculpt, and the default lenses. We'll switch them out for the larger ones, then we'll do the smaller ones, and after that we can try out the unmasked head sculpt. I like it. It's slightly less stylized versus Into the Spider-Verse. It's not as chonky and geometric, it's a lot smoother. And it's covered in fabric this time. So the texture and color match between the head and the body is perfect. Whereas the Into the Spider-Verse one, this was a sculpted plastic head. Then the outfit was screen printed fabric, so there was a color and finish mismatch. I didn't mind that. But with this guy, you don't have to worry about it. They've almost perfected fabric masks on plastic head sculpts. As you can see, there's a little bump right there for the seam line. But it's relatively clean everywhere else. There's no seam line under his chin, just that bump up top. I can live with it. From most angles, you can't even really see it. The reason why they had to go fabric for this is not just because of the match, but he's got a metallic blue head sculpt underneath the fabric. When you pull that super thin material taut over it, you can see that metallic blue poking through. To get this to be as screen accurate as possible, that's what they needed to do. There's this honeycomb texture effect for the inside part of the lenses and a blue outline on the glossy red bits. Let's try out the larger lenses, see what that looks like. Whoa, they are absolutely massive. They take up pretty much his entire head. They're cool, but they only work for very specific poses, so I don't think I'm ever going to rock my Miles with them. I'm still glad they're included though. I don't mind them. They're definitely more traditional. They lean traditional Spidey versus stylized Miles from Into the Spider-Verse, or Across the Spider-Verse in this instance. But this is Miles from Across the Spider-Verse, so once again, I'm happy they're here. They're just not my personal favorite of the bunch. Can you mix and match lenses? You can do it, but I don't know that you should do it. Because that, to me, looks very strange. Hey, you know what? That's actually a lot better. The large lenses do work with the medium-sized ones. In the right pose, I reckon you could pull it off. There are posers who are a lot better than me out there. Just let me know what you think of the combos down in the comments. Let's move on to the unmasked head sculpt. I'm just going to come right out and say it. That right there is, in my opinion, a perfect Across the Spider-Verse Miles Morales head sculpt. From every angle, that looks like the character model to me. There's not a ton of skin texture or speckling or shading. They kept it simple, and that is animation accurate. Versus the Into the Spider-Verse sculpt, there's no additional wrinkles really or frown lines or anything, but still, the new sculpt looks like an older version of Miles Morales. They've taken some of the baby fat out of the cheeks, slimmed down the sculpt, they've sized it up a touch, and he's got more hair up top. Speaking of the hair, there's so much texture to it, and there's a lighter brown dry brush. Then there's this fade below it, and for the skin tone, it looks a touch chalky. That's exactly what I want from an animated Spider-Verse piece. Now the eyes. They're looking up just a little, but you can change that, because unlike the Into the Spider-Verse head sculpt, this one has moving eyes. You don't need to use the tool to access them, you can just as easily use your finger. I'll show you what I mean. With the head sculpt off the body, the eyes are right there. You can get to them super easily, but if you want to use the tool, this is what it looks like. You can connect it to the back side of the ball joints for the eyes and then move them around. We'll do some rapid-fire eye position tests in a minute. The only complaints I have with this head sculpt, I've got 3 of them. They're minor ones. The first of which, don't dig the seam line where the hair has been attached to the head. The second, the Hot Toys branding on the back, we'll touch on that in the pros and cons segment. And the third, his eyes are done in a matte finish. It adds to the chalky aesthetic I was talking about a second ago, but I think gloss would have worked just as well for this. Okay, I really like side-eye with this head sculpt. The more I see of it on the body, but now that we're trying different eye positions out, I think I might have to go unmasked in the display. Looking down, never my favorite eye position, but you can do it. I reckon some of y'all might be able to pull it off. You can't tell me that that doesn't look bloody brilliant. Side eye with this sculpt, head tilt forward, head tilt back even. It brings it to life. This, the subtle smirk, the raised eyebrow, it's a very versatile head sculpt. Now, the eye positions, you are going to have to work a little bit harder to get them to look good, just because his pupils and irises, they're not circular. They're actually oval shaped. So I would suggest hiding a little bit of those bits of his eyes underneath his top eyelids, or the bottom ones if you nail that eye position, to help sell the expression. Can you use the new head sculpt on the Into the Spider-Verse body? Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't make a ton of sense because his hairstyle isn't Into the Spider-Verse accurate and the sculpt is slightly larger in scale, but still perfectly compatible with the neck connector. And if you squint and look at it from a distance, you could probably ignore the larger size of the head sculpt anyway. Back to the masked head. There's one more thing we need to try out. Around the back, I'm not sure if you can see it right there actually. There's a magnet, there's another magnet. Bringing in the spider sense effect, you can attach this, not super securely, to the back of his head sculpt. And because it's translucent plastic, in the right lighting, it looks like his spidey sense is tingling. You can't really see the clear plastic. There's this dot effect on it that just fades into the background. So I do like it, is what I'm trying to say. Around the back, I never realized, and this is just me only watching the movie once, that his spider symbol was upside down in Across the Spider-Verse. I dig it. You can also see some little drippy bits, so he's once again spray painted his spider symbols on his suit. This is screen printed on the surface, just like all of the squiggly lines on the fabric. The red stripes down his legs and under his armpits extending to his hands, also screen printed. I'm going to say screen printing way too many times, but this logo around the front with the circle and the drippy bits, you guessed it, screen printed. The squiggles are all over the entire outfit, but this time, no web lines. How do you feel about the lack of web lines on Miles' new suit? I'm partial to web lines on my Spidey suits, and not seeing them at first on screen was jarring. But the more I got stuck into the movie, I did get used to it. And this is genius the way they've done this. The metallic armor plating that's blue underneath the super thin black spandex outfit. It's very visible. Like, you can see all of these armor plates as light passes through the fabric and bounces off the surface of those pieces. To achieve this effect, they had to make the suit very, very thin. So thin that it is fragile. We'll talk about that in the articulation segment. If you're getting this Miles, handle him with care. Coming down to his legs, geometric is the best word I could use to describe them. His knees, his calves, his ankles with this bit jutting out, the feet flat and pointy, very geometric. Then we've got the red stripes ending at his knees with the spray painted effect to them, and more of that around the edges of his feet with red soles on the underside. I know we've seen them do stuff like this before with the armor plating through the outfit, like with Supes, but not to this extent, and not this successfully, in my opinion. It's so ethereal and cool looking. Then there's a blue undersuit underneath these raised armor plates. You can feel the edges of them. That gives the entire suit this subtle blue tint to it. I'm so keen to get to the civilian look for Miles. Before we can do that, let's pop on the multiversal bracelet and do the web effect pieces. I like how they've continued that armor plating effect to try and simulate that blue armor underneath the outfit for his hands. It's not 100% bang on to the actual effect on the outfit, but it's close. Now the bracelet, is very loose on him, unless you push it all the way down onto the base of his hands where they flare out a little. Engineering, man, this is so cool. They've tried a lot of new stuff with this Miles. You see that little peg port? That's on the wrist peg. There's no swap out palm piece for the whipping hand. There's no web shooter. You literally grab the web effect and plug it into that gap on the wrist peg. So clever, and going forward, I want them to keep doing this because it's only there if you need it. You can cover the wrist pegs entirely with the fabric suit underneath the hands if you want to. See what I mean? It's not entirely seamless, but at least the fabric can cover the wrist peg, so when you bend his arms at the elbows, the fabric doesn't ride down to expose those wrist pegs. There's one more thing that I want to talk about. See this right here? Bunching at the ankles. This is one of my biggest bugbears with Hot Toys and Spidey figures. I thought they found a way to eliminate that entirely, but it turns out that simply isn't the case. It is present on Across the Spider-Verse Miles. I reckon it's time to move on to the civilian look. Holy shit, that was difficult and so not worth it. Yes, I haven't futzed it. That's because I'm not leaving him like this. As soon as this clip is done, I'm taking it all off because it put so much pressure and friction on his Spidey suit underneath it. Because he's still wearing the Spidey suit under all this. You don't take off the Spidey outfit, then install the civilian clothing. If you want to display Miles like this, I would suggest getting a second Spidey, rocking one with the battle suit and the other as civilian Miles. Breaking it down, what do you really get out of it? Some unbranded Jordans, they're made of rubbery plastic, so you still get the toe articulation, but the sole comes off when you access that joint. No swoosh, no branding, nothing. Some baggy looking jeans with this denim weave to them. They've got real pockets up top and a Velcro fly, but they don't do the proportions for his legs any favors. Then all of this stuff on the upper torso. The puffer jacket is actually padded. It feels like it's made of nylon, screen printed detailing on the surface, and it's wired. That I do appreciate. But you're hiding his upper torso under 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers of fabric. He's very bulky now. There's hoods up top. The red one is part of his hoodie. Then there's a black one for his puffer jacket. But his hair is solid sculpted plastic and it's super tall, so you can't really put them on without them looking ridiculous. In the movie, the hoods press his hair down, whereas in 1/6 scale, being plastic, that simply doesn't happen. The zippers for the puffer jacket and the hoodie are functional. Then we've got different colored buttons on his denim vest thing. There's gold ones and some red ones. The rubber neck piece was a nice idea. But the skin tone match between the rubber neck part and the head sculpt isn't perfect. How can it not be perfect? If you are giving us a separate piece of rubber to make it look like a skin tone neck, you better make sure that it matches the head sculpt. But simply put, it's way off. Like you can see that, yeah? The neck is darker than his face. I'm not sure what happened. There's some darker shading on his ears. Maybe they were trying to match that, but his ears are a very small part of the rest of his sculpt. Does it ruin the civilian look for me? No, it doesn't, but I've already told you, I'm never going to have him like this. Oh, thank goodness. Pretty much no damage to the outfit. Pretty much. There is some. Right there on his wrist. Turns out that 5 layers of clothing on top of screen-printed squiggles, not a great idea. I followed the instructions to a T, I was very careful. But some of the squiggles are rubbing away. So the more you pop on the civilian outfit, then remove it, then reinstall it, the more damage you're going to do. Stick with one look. If you're going civilian, leave it on. If you're going battle suit, just rock him like this, don't even try the civilian look, because you will cause some kind of damage to the outfit. Hopefully it's only minor. For a quick side-by-side comparison, to be totally honest, Hot Toys cooked with both of these. Across the Spider-Verse on the left and Into the Spider-Verse on the right. I'm genuinely happy I don't have to pick between them. But say, hypothetically speaking, I did have to. Which one would I go with? Let's talk about pros and cons. Into the Spider-Verse, he's shorter. That's a con for me. I don't think his proportions are as exaggerated. His outfit is busier, but I don't mind that. And he's got the sculpted plastic head sculpt versus fabric covered for the new one. Then across the Spider-Verse, simpler suit, metallic armor plating, he's taller, much more exaggerated proportions, and I prefer the shape of his spider symbol, with the sharper legs and the fangs up top. But I like Into the Spider-Verse better as a movie. And Miles, for me, is always a younger Spidey. Then we've got the web lines on Into the Spider-Verse and the red on his shoulders and his chest. So I'd be going with the figure on the right. You thought I was going to pick the new one, but no. I prefer Into the Spider-Verse, maybe only a little. But it's enough for that one to be my favorite of the two. Poor Gwen. Why didn't we get a new one in the Across the Spider-Verse line? We got Miguel, Hobie, Prowler Miles Morales himself, but no Gwen Stacy. According to Hot Toys, this is the Gwen you're meant to use in your Across the Spider-Verse line, by them not announcing a new one. That's what they're saying. She's too small. If they do give us a new Gwen Stacy, she needs to be on a larger body because next to this Miles, she just looks ridiculous. Not bad. This is young Rich Toys Peter B. Parker. He's far from perfect. He doesn't stand for shit. His proportions aren't quite right. But the head sculpt and the colors for the outfit, they work for me. He's significantly taller than Miles. The height difference looks about right. At least they didn't skimp on the height for Miguel. He towers over Miles. He is an absolute beast of a piece. Before we do this, a word of warning. Be really careful with the super thin fabric outfit. It's notoriously fragile. I've already seen a couple of Instagrammers and YouTubers tear theirs around the inner thigh area, and I don't want to share their fate. Neither do you, I would assume, so be gentle when you're moving stuff around. Going over articulation, starting off with his head sculpt. Ball joint at the base of the neck, then a double ball peg underneath the head itself. Looking forward to there on both joints. Up to there, plenty of range for a web swinging pose. Swivel and tons of pivot side to side. The shoulder design is interesting. It sticks out pretty far, and he's got this rubbery overlay for his traps, so to get the maximum range out of his arms, you need to tuck the shoulders underneath the traps. Then they'll go up to there. Forward and back, there's a butterfly joint at the shoulder that hinges up and down, but you don't get much out of it. Swivel at the bicep, double bend at his elbow going past 90, the full way, actually, no problem. Then for his wrist peg, it's a covered ratcheted hinge and swivel. For his torso, joint at the midsection and another at the waist, crunching forward to there, which is honestly way further than I was expecting. Going back to there, not as far as forward, but still plenty of range. Then we've got swivel and pivot side to side. Okay, this is the danger zone. His legs will go forward on clicky ratchets to there, constantly adjusting the outfit, helps you not split the seam. Going out to there, also on ratchets, swivel at the upper thigh. Double bend at his knees, going past 90. Then a hinge and swivel for his ankles, plugged into the feet at an angle, so they go forward and back, we get rotation, as well as ankle tilt, but it's a really stiff joint, you just have to work with it. Lastly, toe articulation. Moving on to the 3 cool and 3 annoying things. The first annoying thing is, whoops, you see this head sculpt right here? The special edition bonus sculpt? I was meant to get that, because I got the special edition version of Miles. But instead of getting the half mask sculpt, they put 2 full masked sculpts in the box. I've already reached out to my retailer Pop Collectibles to fix this, but it's really not good enough. If you're getting the special edition, you really need to receive the special edition exclusive accessory. The second annoying thing is, why is this here? I get it. They want to stop people from recasting this head sculpt. But usually, that is on the inside of sculpts. having it visible around the back of Miles' head, I don't like that at all. The third annoying thing is this an accessory or is it part of the packaging? Because clamshell plastic with cardboard inside of it does not an accessory make. It should have been sculpted plastic with an LED light up feature. This feels and looks very cheap. The first cool thing is the metallic blue armor plating visible through the super thin fabric outfit. The way they did this is bloody genius. I just wish the outfit wasn't more fragile as a trade-off. The second cool thing, okay Hot Toys, I see you. Skin tone wrist pegs for the skin tone hands if you're going for the civilian look for Miles, then black wrist pegs for the gloved suited ones. That's some attention to detail that I just wasn't expecting. The third cool thing is the cardboard backdrop. Yes, it's a little bit warped. There's an ugly crease down the middle, but it sets the scene beautifully. And there's artwork on both sides, it's reversible. I've never seen them do this before, but this is now what I'm expecting going forward if we get figures with cardboard backdrops. Wrapping up on Hot Toys Across the Spider-Verse Miles Morales. I like it, but I don't think I love it. Which is weird, because I do love the Into the Spider-Verse one. So let's break that down. What does Into the Spider-Verse Miles do better than this one? The outfit. This one is a lot cleaner. It's animation accurate, but the trade-off they had to make to get the metallic armor plates to shine through the fabric was that the fabric had to be really thin. And that means a lot of people are tearing it, or they're getting it already torn right out of the box. So that's another thing. The civilian outfit, it is so difficult to install. I would recommend not even doing it. Whereas with Into the Spider-Verse, it wasn't easy. But it was sure as shit easier than this one is to install. And lastly, this might only affect me, but how do I order the special edition version of Miles and not get the special edition bonus accessory? They gave me 2 of the same masked head sculpts. What kind of QC is that? If someone is checking these figures after they finish production, on the production line, you can tell straight away that that head sculpt is not the special edition one. But they didn't pick it up, and I didn't get that sculpt. I'm hoping I can get it fixed, but if I can't, because they don't have any spare special edition Miles head sculpts lying around, then I'm shit out of luck. But I will be contacting Pop Collectibles to get it sorted. So at the end of this, do I recommend him? Only just. He barely scraped through with a recommend from me because I like enough about him to say that he's a must-have, but if you don't care about Across the Spider-Verse and you're happy with Into the Spider-Verse Miles, stick with that one. Now that you know what to expect from him, if you do get him, fingers crossed you don't have the same issues that I've had. Now, I got mine at a discount from Pop Collectibles. I've popped a link to their site in the description, along with the discount code Justin's Collection, for 5% off your order if you decide to buy from them. As always, do your own research, make sure you're comfortable before buying. If you're heading down to the description, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button if you like the sound of seeing your name in the end credits of my reviews. Like, comment, and subscribe. We'll catch you in the next video.